There are 17 teams that have a feasible path to the playoffs. And here's what those paths look like. What's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. I make college football videos every single day. So whether you want to agree with me, disagree with me, talk trash to me, or talk trash with me, you're gonna like this channel. So on this particular show, I am going through the feasible paths to get to the playoffs for 17 teams. Yes, you heard me. 17 teams. Now, I will say this. Technically, the entire Pac-12 could qualify. But for the sake of this video, I'm only going to use Oregon and USC. The first thing is, and Bronco fans are not going to like this, I do not think Boise State has any chance whatsoever to get into the playoffs. They have great name recognition, but there just wouldn't be enough meat on the bone for Boise State to get in. I mean, total pandemonium would have to happen for Boise State to get in. Same for Marshall, same for Coastal Carolina, and the same for Liberty. Those three teams would get in only under complete chaos. So I'm actually going to start at the top and work my way down, because to me it actually gets more interesting the lower you go. So the first team on the list, of course, is Clemson. How do they get in? Go undefeated or only have one loss. Clemson's going to get in. Number 2, of course, Alabama. Same scenario. Undefeated, one loss, Alabama's getting in. Ohio State, same thing. A little bit of a tweak though. Undefeated, definitely in. One loss as the Big Ten champion. That's important if they get a loss. They could still get in with one loss and not be the Big Ten champion, but I'm not going into all that. I'm just going by most feasible for each team. Notre Dame, go undefeated or beat Clemson once. You do that, Notre Dame, you're in. Whether it's the regular season or the ACC championship, if you beat Clemson once and beat everybody else, you're in. Now here's where it starts to get a little interesting. Number 5, Georgia. And yes, I'm going by this week's AP Top 25. So, Georgia, win out, you're in. Simple. The other scenario that's feasible is you win out, get to the SEC championship, lose to an undefeated Alabama in a close game. But you also need other things to happen. Cincinnati would have to lose a game. Clemson, Notre Dame would have to beat the other team twice. Texas A&M would need to lose another game. And Ohio State going undefeated would help you as well. Easiest path, win the rest of your games. Number 6, Cincinnati. First off, they have to win out. One loss, they're done. But they also need Notre Dame or Clemson to beat the other team twice and win all the other games. And then the winner of Georgia, Florida, lose to Alabama in the SEC championship. And Ohio State winning out would help them as well, because that would knock out Wisconsin. Texas A&M would probably need to lose another game as well. I think they would. It would be a toss-up between those two, but for insurance, Cincinnati would probably need Texas A&M to lose another game. And it wouldn't hurt if BYU lost a game. Number 7, speaking of Texas A&M. First off, you have to win out. One way to get there would be Alabama losing twice between now and the SEC championship. Texas A&M get to the SEC championship and win that. So they would win out and be the SEC champion. That would get you in. But I don't see that happening. So what they would need to happen is Alabama beat the winner of the Florida-Georgia game and be undefeated. That would knock out Florida-Georgia. Clemson, Notre Dame would have to beat the other team, Ohio State, going undefeated, knocking out Wisconsin or whoever. Indiana, Cincinnati losing would help as well. And then maybe a BYU loss, because that would be in the toss-up area as well. But it's definitely feasible for Texas A&M to get to the playoffs. Just some things need to happen. Number 8, Florida. kind of the same scenario as Georgia, pretty much. Win out, you're in. Or you get to the SEC Championship, lose to an undefeated Alabama in a close game. Cincinnati would need to lose one. And then, of course, Notre Dame or Clemson would have to beat the other team twice. Texas A&M would need to lose another game. And Ohio State going undefeated. They would need to knock out Wisconsin or Indiana. Number 9, BYU. Now, the first thing, they have to win out. Now, you have to remember, BYU can't be a conference champion. So I have no idea why ESPN has their chances of getting to the playoffs higher than Cincinnati. Cincinnati can be a conference champion. But first, they need to win out. They also need Clemson or Notre Dame to beat the other team twice. They need Alabama to go undefeated, Ohio State to go undefeated because that would knock out some other competition. Cincinnati needs to lose, and Texas A&M would need to lose another game just for insurance, because between those three teams, it would be a toss-up if the other chaos were to happen. Number 10, Wisconsin, and with them having to cancel 2 games, I actually had to change some things. First off, now they're going to have to win out. I think 1 loss and they're done. So win out, beat an undefeated Ohio State team in the Big Ten title game, and Notre Dame, Clemson beat the other team twice. Alabama wins out. Cincinnati loses. BYU loses. And Texas A&M loses again. So because Wisconsin loses 2 games because of cancellations, they actually need more things to happen besides just winning out, in my opinion. Number 11, Miami. They are technically still in this conversation. First off, they have to win out. Now, the second thing is, it would be nice if Clemson beat Notre Dame worse than they beat Miami, and then Miami would skip over Notre Dame in the rankings, and then all Miami would have to do is win out, get to the ACC Championship game, and beat Clemson. Boom, they're in. But if that don't happen, then they would just need Clemson or Notre Dame to beat the other team twice. Ohio State needs to go undefeated. Alabama, undefeated. Texas A&M needs another loss. Cincinnati needs to lose. BYU needs to lose. And I think Oregon would need at least 1 loss as well for Miami to get in. Number 12, speaking of Oregon, and technically, yes, the rest of the Pac-12 would have a chance as well if they go undefeated. But I'm not talking about them. That's too much, and it would pretty much be the same scenario. So I just picked out Oregon and USC. Number 12, Oregon. First off, they have to win out. And they need to beat an undefeated USC team in the Pac-12 championship. Clemson or Notre Dame has to beat the other team twice. Alabama and Ohio State go undefeated, knocking out Florida, Georgia, Wisconsin, Indiana. Cincinnati needs to lose once. I think they would keep Cincinnati ahead of Oregon because of number of games. But if Cincinnati loses once, there you go, Oregon. Then a toss-up between BYU. But for insurance, I would say BYU needs to lose. And Texas A&M needs to lose again as well. Number 13, Indiana. Yes, we're talking about Indiana. First off, if Indiana wins out, they're in. Think about that. They control their own destiny. But if they were to lose, they would need to lose only once and in the regular season, but not to Ohio State. They would have to beat Ohio State so they could get to the Big Ten championship. Once they got there, they would need to beat an undefeated Wisconsin, knocking them out. Notre Dame, Clemson beat the other team twice. Alabama wins out. Cincinnati needs to lose. BYU needs to lose. Texas A&M needs to lose again. And Oregon and USC would both have to lose at least once for a one-loss Big Ten Indiana championship team to get into the playoffs. Number 14, Oklahoma State. All they had to do was win out and they're in the playoffs. But now they need a lot of help. First off, they still need to win out. They also need Clemson or Notre Dame to beat the other team twice. They need Alabama to win out. Ohio State win out. They need Cincinnati to lose. They need BYU to lose. They need Texas A&M to lose another game. And they need the Pac-12 champion to have 1 loss. And they need Miami to lose again. So Oklahoma State, long shot, but you still got a chance. Number 15, USC is pretty much the same boat as Oregon. You got to win out. Clemson, Notre Dame needs to beat the other team twice. Alabama needs to go undefeated. Ohio State needs to go undefeated. Cincinnati needs to lose. BYU needs to lose. Texas A&M needs to lose another game. Oklahoma State needs to lose another game because Oklahoma State is actually ranked pretty far ahead of USC right now. Miami needs to lose another game. And it would help if they beat an undefeated Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. And then the last two teams, number 16 and number 17, Northwestern and Purdue. You have to win out. Plain and simple, you have to win out. No other way. I don't see y'all are not ranked. Y'all are too far down. You're going to have to win out, and you still might need a little bit of help. But for the sake of argument, I'm going to say just win out. So there you go. The playoff paths for the 17 teams that I think have a feasible, not altogether likely, but feasible chance to get into the playoffs. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next show.